Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Game Over Greggy show. Every Friday we post the MP3 for $1 over at GameOverGreggy.bandcamp.com. Then, at least for this week, we start rolling out the videos starting on Monday for free over on YouTube.com/GameOverGreggy. Nick, what's your topic?
So, you know I love 80s movies, right?
I know you talk about them a lot.
And they're remaking a lot of 80s movies.
You were,
now.
what, 24 when 1980 started?
1980 started, I was actually 36 years old.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, true story. They just remade a movie called RoboCop.
Oh, yeah.
And
I did not see this.
I'm not going to go into that right now. I'm not going to go into the actual concept of the remakes. But when they remake movies, they always have, they'll replay movies. And, every once in a while, that'll get me back into old movies. And if there's one action star that I don't think you can not love from the 80s, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So the other night,
The Jaeger.
They call him the Jaeger?
The Jaeger.
How they call him the Oak? Oh, you mean like God?
Just go.
All right. I love Schwarzenegger. Everyone loves Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger was awesome until about mid-90s when he started doing stuff like...
Eraser.
You say Jingle All the Way.
Eraser.
First thing comes to mind.
Jingle All the Way. Now a sequel with Larry the Cable Guy.
So
I was gonna
Get
say,
the fuck out of here.
I was going to say End of Days, but yeah, Jingle All the Way was kind of stuff.
Is that the one with Vanessa Williams?
No, that
Or
was
that
Eraser.
Eraser?
That was Eraser.
Is Eraser the one where he fought a crocodile
Yeah.
too?
Yes.
Jesus.
That was. He also fell out of a plane
Had the
without a
railguns,
parachute.
though.
And like
Sweet
popped his
railguns.
parachute. It doesn't matter. Not the point, guys. Not the point. My point is this. I'm on Netflix the other day, and I noticed The Last Stand is on. So I start watching it. And it's Schwarzenegger, but it's Schwarzenegger like 2 years ago. At what point do we want our heroes, like action heroes, to just stop?
Stallone, for example, would be
The second that they have to say, I'm too old for this shit.
But that was like a Danny Glover special back in the 80s. He wasn't too old.
for this shit.
Do you think that Arnold Schwarzenegger is too old to act and be a legitimate action star?
No, I think it's much like athletes where they could do it as long as they feel like they want to do it, and when they want to call it a career, then call it a career.
I mean, there's always going to be standouts too, but when was the last great Schwarzenegger movie?
They did. Well, Stallone and Schwarzenegger just did a movie called like
Escape or something.
Escape, yeah. Which
They're in a glass prison.
But here's my point in this: is I actually started watching The Last Stand.
There we go.
And
Which one's The Last Stand?
It's the one where he's a sheriff in a small sleepy town, and he's like, nothing good happens here, and then something crazy happens, and he's like, oh, I got to defend the town now. We got to do the town.
Was he an action star in it?
Yeah, he's totally. I mean, I'm halfway through it, but I'm actually thoroughly enjoying it, so I kind of want him to keep going forever.
I like that you take them like chapters in a book. You're halfway through it.
I'm getting.
I've been chipping away at it every night.
Greg, I'm
All
old.
60.
I'm old. Come like midnight, I have to just go to sleep.
It's true. It's true.
I think you can as long as they have a good role. I don't think like Schwarzenegger, for example, would work in another Terminator movie as a Terminator himself.
Sure.
So he's too old for that.
Like Tim, do you think Vin Diesel will act for the rest of his life as an action star?
I mean,
They're gonna bring Pacifier 2 around.
yeah,
eventually.
he's gonna keep doing that type of stuff. But I mean, Schwarzenegger does that too. Well, like the dumb roles, or Pacifier was awesome. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's always gonna have star power. He's always gonna have star power.
Yeah.
You don't put him you put him as like kind of a secondary role in a movie or something.
I'm upset with this. Like, I wish someone like him would stop, so that things like Expendables were even cooler. Like the cameos and stuff, like him being in that.
But Expendables was cool when it first started, and then they made are they up to 3 now? Are they making a 4? I don't even know. But I mean, like, the first one when they did that, I was like, oh, that's funny. And then, I never saw any of them. I had no interest in it.
I saw one. It was awesome.
Sure you did.
I did.
Expendables?
Yeah.
It was fun. It was good. The second one was weird. It had Van Damme, and I wanted it to be much better than it was. But Van Damme's also getting old.
So what about Harrison Ford?
No,
What
I want him.
I think
to
we
keep
all
going.
learned our lesson with the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, I was gonna say Indiana Jones was pretty indicative.
But that's not a slight to his acting skills. It's more or less a script and the plot.
Sure.
So,
But this is also apparently as you get older, you just lose your taste in scripts.
Lose your butt, too. He had that saggy old man butt.
We'll see when he's Han
saying
Solo
his
in the new
ass?
Star Wars movies. How he
Go look at it.
But is he going to be like are the Star Wars movies going to be about him, or is it just going to be more like he's like, oh hey,
they're gonna be like secondary cameos.
he's going to send his kids? Exactly.
I think it's
There's
gonna be
a
about his
big
kids.
difference between being an action movie star and being fucking.
I want Air Force too.
I think there was an audience that they wanted to see Harrison Ford back as Indiana Jones, no matter how old he was.
I want to see him as Han Solo too. I don't mind that. By the way, I saw a rumor today that Grand Admiral Thrawn is in the new Star Wars movies.
Oh, I hope
The
that's
guy
so.
from the Girls
I hope
is in
that's so.
Is from Girls.
That's
in
Grand
Star
Admiral
Wars.
Thrawn.
Is it?
No. That guy in the girls, I don't know what his name is.
Okay.
I just
His
hope they
name's
bring
not
back
Grand
Grand Moff Tarkin. I want more Grand Moff.
Grand Moff Tarkin died on the Death Star, and
You didn't see his death. You didn't see his death.
What do you think? He jumped in an escape pod and was like, I'm done? Boosh.
they show him right before
What up,
it explodes. Though
Tatooine?
they look
Yeah,
at his
but
face.
that could have been a continuity thing. That you didn't really know what was the time passing between showing him and exploding.
I think
It's true.
By the way, I think in the J.W. Rinsler book about A New Hope that I was mentioning earlier, that they talk about how Grand Moff Tarkin's actor didn't know that he died. Like, that was not implicit in the script. That, like, he dies because of the explosion, and so it's, you know, they show it, but, like, it doesn't say, like, that he dies, so.
What was he
There
looking
you go.
for? Did he want like an R.I.P. Grand Moff Tarkin?
Well, he was like, he
At
was
the end of the movie, the
Yeah,
credits roll, and
yeah,
it's just like in memory of
him,
Grand Moff Tarkin.
that guy, and Alec Guinness were the only like two like super legitimate actors in the entire movie.
Oh, they were
like,
badass.
that guy played Grand Moff Tarkin's like
that guy.
I can't think of his name.
I'm sorry, what was the other guy you mentioned?
Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan.
Oh,
Like,
I think,
Ben
I think
Kenobi.
Emperor Palpatine is also a good actor.
He is, but he's not in The New Hope. I was just saying the
Idiot.
that's Ian McDermott, right?
I don't know.
Yes.
But yeah, they
The
were saying
Emperor.
that
The Emperor was Ian McDermott.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
They were saying that Grand Moff Tarkin's actor is like a legit stage actor or whatever. And they
Oh
got
yeah.
him.
Well, they were English, and that just makes you automatically better at acting than
They're
anyone
all
else.
sirs and such.
Yeah.
Hey there, there's Darth Vader, Downton Abbey.
What other old actors do we think are good?
Liam
or still
Neeson's only getting better.
He's getting better, right? So like, he shouldn't turn it in because he's doing the best work of his career.
When's Love Actually 2 coming out?
Oh man.
Oh jeez.
That's on Netflix. By the way, I just want to say something real quick before we move on. Or I guess it's you're gonna end soon. Just quickly about Grand Moff Tarkin. I'm glad you brought him up. I was thinking about I was bringing about Tarkin recently. Tarkin's badass, not because of who he is.
Which one is this guy? I don't even know who
He's
he's
the
talking
guy.
about.
He was
guy.
Vader's boss.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is that
I thought
he
that was the
fu-
Emperor.
No.
No, the Emperor is like the head of the organization, but Grand Moff Tarkin's like the head military officer of
He's
the
one of the
Empire.
old dudes who
Yeah,
walks
yeah,
around
do
with
you
the
me-
chiclets on his chest?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
alright.
Do you remember this?
But I love how like everyone's afraid of Darth Vader. Darth Vader kills people in the movie, right? Like strangles them. Grand Moff Tarkin is the only guy other than the Emperor that tells him what to do and
Straight
isn't
up.
afraid of him at all.
Remember
You
when,
know?
when he's like choking the guy and Tarkin's like this, Vader, and Vader's like shit, like he stopped.
But he could like totally squash.
He could have, but
Tarkin
he's
if
like,
wanted.
he had respect for Tarkin
Yeah.
because Tarkin was like the admiral.
Tarkin reminded him a lot of Padme, I think. And
Yeah.
that's really where it came down to. Just-
Well, I bet you there was probably a father-son relationship there as they got older.
You think so?
I think so.
I would like to know more about Tarkin.
Tarkin would be cool to kind of like the origin story of Tarkin.
I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure there's a.
They showed him episode 3. Like they CGI'd him in or whatever. They got someone who looked like kind of like him.
oh, at the end,
yeah.
right? He walks up next to him. I remember that.
I love episode 3.
It's a good movie.
No,
You would.
No.
I mean, not compared to the other ones. I do
The best
think
part
it's,
of that movie is the last frame or the last,
which is
sequence,
awesome.
where they show like the old school sets. That's it.
Which one?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Episode
the hell are
3,
you talking
where
about?
they're showing like the ships, like the.
Oh, you
all
mean the star, like the not the Star Destroyers?
Death Star's being built.
No, Star Destroyers. They show
they
the
show
actual
like,
Star
they show, like-
Destroyers
yeah,
like
they show,
going,
like,
and
all
you
the
haven't seen
ships.
those yet, but you see them like
It's
finally.
like, yeah, when they're first being built, their first kind of just concepts of them.
Which was always kind of a little bit weird about me in the Star Wars movies. It always seemed like the past tech was way cooler than the future tech.
Yeah. I mean, that's, just a problem with movies.
And just design wise, they were like
They
they
could
had
have
to-
gotten around it if they were not so dependent on fucking green screens and.
Yeah, that's true. Can you imagine that though? You're doing an entire movie like they did entire scenes where it was just them on a blue screen with no one else.
Well, supposedly, majority of the movie was like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Red Letter
yeah.
Media makes fun of like Red Letter Media reviews of the Star Wars
Oh,
movies
God,
are the
they're genius.
funniest things
I think
I've
it got
ever.
taken down. I think it got taken down.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm
I think so.
sure those
They're
live on.
they're all,
somewhere.
dude. They're all.
No,
have you ever
it's
seen
the
those?
funniest
They're,
thing.
They're
they're
like
like
2
2
hours.
hours each
that's
for
great.
each movie, and they're so good because like they just dissect the movies. Meanwhile, back on A New Hope and Empire, they're building. On Empire, they're building AT-ATs with literal like Gundam sets or whatever they're finding in like hobby stores like by hand. And then George Lucas is making like all this bullshit on a computer that doesn't even look as
Oh
good.
yeah, that's the best part about it when they actually show how they made them and like someone would come and go, it needs more, and they'd open like a model kit up and just start gluing stuff to the bottom of it to put texture on it. It's cool. It's just amazing. They don't do that stuff anymore.
Yeah, they were saying like they were building like it was like a big deal because then they'd have to destroy some of these things in like the explosion sequences, and they'd have to make sure that they were doing these things right. They
Yeah,
like,
you only
take a
get one
truck and
shot out of
drive
it.
like the Death Star trenches were like people just driving by on trucks like with these huge things that took them like a year to build with like fucking model car sets like by hand. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You
It's
know?
awesome. They did a lot of that up in just like hour up from us.
Yeah.
Not the ranch. There's another studio
at
called
noon.
3210 where they that's up
Every
there
Monday,
now. I don't know
actually.
what it's called before, but that used to be like the actual like modeling division of Lucas, which is cool. So you go there and like there's actually still like Slave One, the models there and stuff like that. It's cool.
Slave One is such an awesome shit.
It's so
Golden Gate
badass.
Park. That's where they shot part of the speeder
Andor
bike.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, which is super cool because I remember being a little kid and like walking through and being reminded of Star Wars. And my mom was like, "No, they actually shot that, like parts of that here." And I
So,
was
yeah,
like,
you can go up and see
"What?"
it. All half that movie was shot like 30 minutes up in Marin, right?
So cool.
I bet you they shot
Is it
part of it
Muir
right
Woods?
here before they built this apartment.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
George
did
Lucas
actually.
stayed in my bedroom in 1982.
It still
During
smells.
That's
pre-production.
probably where they were
weird.
like, Boba Fett's cool, but he's really just a clone of
Or
Jango
Boba Fett is the coolest Star
No,
Wars
he's not.
character.
He
is.
was until they ruined him.
Hey, I'm some guy with a thing on my back. I'll get the guy. Oh, I'm dead.
Dude, you know what's
I'm so cool.
You know what's a great scene and underrated just shot in Empire is when they're in Bespin in Cloud City and Darth Vader is at the table and Han Solo walks in. Han Solo takes the gun out and shoots at him, and Darth Vader just puts his hand up and stops him, and then Boba Fett walks from the side and just onto the screen.
Yeah, because what was Boba Fett doing there? He was just like, well, "Hey, what up?
Chilling?
I'm here."
No, because the whole relationship is that Boba Fett delivers Han Solo in the trap, gets him and brings him to Jabba as long as they know he's taken care of. Like their whole job is to get Skywalker to go to Bespin so the Empire can capture him, and then they trade Han Solo to Boba Fett so he can bring him to Jabba the Hutt. Because that whole arc starts with Greedo and Mos Eisley in A New Hope, and they thread it all the way through.
I didn't realize that. You just taught me something new about Star Wars. There's a chapter in a Harry Potter book called "The Only One He Ever Feared." That's what the chapter title is called. Do you think that Vader ever feared Boba Fett?
No, I think he respected him.
I think it was a respect issue.
Yeah, I don't think there's nothing to fear. Darth Vader.
Based purely on money.
Yeah, it was a business relationship. They wanted Luke. They knew the only way to get Luke was to get his friends, right?
Right.
So they use Boba Fett to, they lure everyone to Bespin. Boba Fett gets his half of the deal, gets Han Solo and Carbonite, brings him to Tatooine. Meanwhile, Luke Skywalker is captured on Bespin, but they get away. So
did it blow your mind that did it blow your mind that Tatooine was also where Jabba hung out? Like they had like two cool things going for it. That Jabba's badass palace and then that swanky ass bar.
With Max Max Rebo's in Jabba's palace. What were the other guys called?
For which?
Figure and Dan was the in Mos Eisley.
The band name.
Yeah, Figure and Dan and the something.
And
then Max Rebo was the one in Jabba's palace.
With the exception, you know how like we start off in the New Hope and Luke's like, I gotta get off this planet. Dude. There's nothing happening on this planet.
That's what he said. All right.
He was like, dude, I'm claustrophobic
Dude,
on this planet,
Ben.
right? Uncle Ben, like, give me some freaking money so I can get out there and get a Slurpee on Endor. Out of all the places that you saw in the Star Wars universe, was any of them like as happening as Tatooine?
No, because we never saw Coruscant. It was only we never saw Alderaan or Coruscant.
I guess Coruscant was like. What do you laugh
It's
at?
just absurdity of this conversation.
One
day I'm gonna write a
There was,
fanfic.
like, cool
I'm gonna
stuff
write a
happening.
fanfic about Darth Vader, and it's gonna be called Vader's Nightmare. It's gonna be about him taking his
There he
mask
goes.
off
There he
and
goes.
sand just pouring out. And he's like, it gets everywhere. It gets pouring out the little holes of his mask. His little circuit boards turning to sand. Yeah, it gets everywhere. I've already written it, I guess. It's a pretty short nightmare.
So yeah, I guess.
But he was Annie. Do you remember Annie, the slave child? That was him.
Annie.
Oh,
Come hang out with me.
Shit.
Okay.
My dad was. I talked to my dad this weekend. My dad was like, I went on Netflix and wanted to watch Phantom Menace. And I'm like, why? He's like, I just want to see it again. I really want to see the Darth Maul's battle fight scene at the end.
That was badass.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right. And he's like, so it was a very long wait. So I went to this video store on Long Island that's still open, and he's like, I rented it. He's like, this movie sucks. He's like, I can't believe that this is my dad. So he's like, I can't believe how excited we were to see this movie. Like we went. My brother was living in Connecticut at the time, working at an animation studio. I took the day off from school. We drove up there from Long Island and went to like the first showing at midnight, and we were like so excited. And we walked out even being like, that was cool. That's the thing everyone forgets about the Phantom Menace is that everyone walked out of that movie because they were so starstruck.
They wanted it to be cool.
Yeah, that they were like, that wasn't bad. And it was only after you thought about it and saw it again.
Well, for most people, it was the first time I saw a new Star Wars movie in theater.
Yeah, that was it for me. I was born in 84, so 83 was when Jedi came out. But still, he was saying, like, why did they killed two characters in that movie that were the best characters in the entire trilogy? And he was
Maul.
right. Maul and Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have killed
Qui-Gon
either
was a
of them.
badass.
Mm-hmm.
Qui-Gon should have been killed by Anakin. That's my thing. Anakin should have risen up and then had to kill
with that.
Qui-Gon, and then Obi-Wan could have put him down.
He should have killed Qui-Gon and Maul. Like Maul and Anakin.
Yeah,
fought.
he should have had to kill Maul to like that was his last thing. Like I'm the right hand, and they could have set that up. The Emperor could have set that up. So many cool things. Like they had cool characters. All the ingredients were there to make the pot pie.
So
They just didn't I don't know. Maybe they didn't cook it long enough. It was the wrong oven.
The oven wasn't hot enough.
As an outsider, I enjoyed, because I don't really give a shit.
I mean,
about
outsider,
this.
like Ghost. You can be an insider.
No, I don't know much about Star Wars.
Kevin
nor do I
Nash
care
and
to.
Scott Hall.
Thank you. But no, when Qui-Gon got stabbed and he didn't disappear, somebody asked George Lucas about that, and he's like, "Oh, it'll be explained." And never got touched on. And I remember my friend and I had a theory because we liked the Star Wars Phantom Menace video game that was like a platformer, but you got to go through it with different characters and do all this stuff and kill stuff.
Game, but it was horrible.
Exactly, but like my friend always bitched about how Qui-Gon was like the least powerful person in that game, and I was like, well, he doesn't disappear in the movie. I bet it's connected.
Oh man.
No, they said he doesn't disappear in the movie because you have to like be ready for death or something like that.
Shut up.
And then you can ascend, but he was still fighting.
Obi-Wan gave up.
He went out hard. Obi-Wan like centered himself and like got ready for it, and then he basically
Yoda didn't disappear. I'm pretty sure he was ready to give up.
What?
Yoda disappeared.
Yoda disappeared.
Did he?
Yeah,
When he died,
was
He was
Remember-
like laying there and just disappeared.
Remember, he was
It
the
was
most
like-
powerful Jedi of all time at the time.
I don't remember his body
And
disappearing.
he lost the fight on a technicality, and so he decided to go live in a fucking garbage pit.
But
Yeah.
Because he said that's the better thing to do.
No,
than come
you don't-
back and rematch against this guy. I could
the
come
guy
back
he
and
could
kill
have totally
him.
won. He
I
could have
could've
won
fu-
that fight.
I could come back and beat this guy any day of the week as long as he isn't throwing fucking ET pods
That's
at
not-
me.
that's not
But
why
no.
he went to
You know
Dagobah,
what? Now
though.
I'm gonna give up all this technology and go live in the fucking tree.
That's not
stump.
why he went to Dagobah. He had to hide in a system that no one would think he was in
It really paid off.
because he was one of the rogue Jedis that wasn't killed.
You're right. It would have really sucked if he just would have gone back and fought him again. Ended it, not had like a
But he had
generation
no-
of genocide.
But he had knowledge of Obi-Wan's whereabouts, and it would have, there was only a few Jedi left at that time.
Did he have knowledge about how bad everything was going to get? And then he could have just ended it.
No, he
because
had
came
knowledge.
back?
He didn't have knowledge about how bad things were.
Did you ever think about like strapping a bomb to his chest and going back and being like, "What's up,
I don't know,
Emperor?"
I guess he could have done that.
I mean, you think that since they
Instead,
can,
he wanted to
you
go
think
be
that
a
since they
fucking
can
rat.
sense the darkness in people, that they would have gotten around the Emperor and been like, "Ooh, this dude's dark."
The Emperor was using his force powers to not let that happen. If I
I don't
recall
know.
correctly.
That's what they said, yeah. But you think like Yoda would have been like, I feel a little
What's up with
something,
this
something.
You got to watch those Red Letter Media reviews, man,
So wait,
because they
was
just destroy the story based on like all those things.
Was it the same guys? Was it the Red Letter guys that took the prequels and chopped them up and re-edited it so it's more like what Nick was talking
No, it
about?
wasn't that.
No.
Because that thing was awesome.
No, Red Letter are the guys that do like literally the guys
Well,
like,
yeah, I
hey,
know, but I
talk
thought they
like
all
this,
did.
Scene
and-
by scene
God,
reviews.
it's so good. They're so funny.
They're funny. I watched one of those with my dad actually over the Christmas break, and he was hysterical. Like he's like, "This is so funny."
They did a great one on I think it was the Dark Knight or Sky. I think it was Dark Knight. And when they start
Yes.
tearing down, not Rises, Dark Knight, just the Dark Knight, they start tearing down this movie, and you're like, oh God, was it Dark? No, it was one of them, and you're just like, wow, okay, there are giant like holes in the logic of any movie once you actually start like thinking about it for longer than 5 seconds. It's pretty interesting.
I don't know how every one of these Game Over Greggy shows comes back to a debate about Star Wars, but it does.
I bet you won't be having these debates in 20 years about
Walking Dead.
Walking
Colin
Dead.
will never have it. Colin will never admit anything good about the.
Let's
Walking
talk
Dead.
about IG-88
No.
on the next
Ladies
episode
and
of the
gentlemen.
Greggy Show.
If I look at you next
of the
time and you're
Game
like,
Over Greggy
my
show.
topic's IG88,
Wait, hold
I
on.
flip the
Hold on,
fucking
before
table
we go,
and I delete the
what were
YouTube
bounty
channel.
hunters? IG-88, Zuckus.
Dengar, Bosk, Boba Fett, and
Alright.
Forlom.
We're good. We're good.
For a logo.
Wrap it up.
Do you think they were all like this? Boba Fett.
I bet you they're all
'Cause
like,
he was just always the coolest.
Well, like, so what was it? IG-88 and Boba Fett were enemies. Zuckus and Forlom worked together.
Which one looked like a dinosaur?
Bosk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bosk is
Bosk.
crazy.
And then Dengar's in Jabba's palace, so Dengar's all right, because Dengar's in Empire.
You hate this conversation.
I'm centering
You just
myself,
hate
so
it.
and one of you can kill me, and I'll move on to another plane.
All right. Should we move on to the next topic?
That's it.
it.
Those are the
Did
topics.
you have a
the
topic
bounty
already?
hunters wrapped up because I would have been annoyed if we didn't figure out all the names for all the bounty hunters.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Game Over Greggy Show is your favorite podcast on YouTube and Bandcamp.
You gotta hit the
Every
bell. You're
week
telling them, like,
we get together.
Game Over Greggy Show is your favorite podcast.
Just fucking. You can download the MP3, the full show, as long as it goes. Today was 2 hours long. Over at GameOverGreggy.bandcamp.com for $1 every Friday. Then Monday we start rolling out these videos topic by topic for your amusement. If you like that, like the video, subscribe to us here on YouTube. Everyone, thank you for your time as always. Jim,
Thanks for having me on.
thank you for coming and joining us. Don't be a stranger.
I'll try and come back sometime other in the future.
Jim, what's your Twitter? So I can start
It's
following
my
you.
name, Jim Riley.
At Jim Riley.
At Jim Riley.
No
Good for
underscore,
you.
no
The
space.
news hound.
No weird.
What's wrong with underscores? Not at
it's,
Nick
it's
underscore
confusing.
Scorpino.
It's just
It is
Jim Riley
confusing.
with
Yeah, I
no
know.
space.
Yeah, he's got an underscore in his name.
Because someone else had Nick's cartoon without it, right?
Yeah, he's better looking than I am.
Okay.
Son
That's
of a
not true,
bitch.
Nick. You're beautiful. Especially
Son
for like a
of a
50-year-old
bitch.
man. You're a good-looking dude.
I'm like the Wolverine, right?
Ladies
How
and
old are you?
gentlemen, we will
You
be
really
back
50?
next week.
Yeah.
But until then... No, do the
I'm
wolf.
not making any funny
Do the
sounds.
fucking wolf.
No.
God damn it, Jim.
No.
Come on, Wolf.
I need
I'll
more
cue-
time to prep. I haven't thought about
I'll
it.
cue it up for you.
I'm
Ready?
not gonna make any noises. No.
All right.
I don't know what's happening.
Thanks, Jim.